Let me ask you an uncomfortable question. How many times have you felt like you were almost there? Like something was about to change, but nothing really changed. You adjust your thoughts, try to maintain faith, practice visualization, try to keep your energy high, but the scenario keeps repeating the same pattern. The problem is almost never a lack of technique. It is internal instability. There is a specific second when reality begins to respond differently, and it does not happen when you try harder. It happens when you stop going back internally. That second is not loud, it does not come with an external sign, and it does not bring immediate confirmation. It happens when your frequency finally stops oscillating. When that happens, you are no longer asking for change. You become the change. 1. The second of decision, when you stop negotiating. Desiring is comfortable because it keeps doors open. Deciding is uncomfortable because it closes alternatives. As long as you desire something, there is still room for doubt. As long as doubt exists, there is divided energy. And divided energy does not reorganize reality. The exact second happens when you think about what you want to experience and no longer feel internal debate. You no longer consult the past to validate whether it is possible. You do not negotiate with fear. You do not calculate emotional probabilities. You simply assume internally that that direction is yours. And assuming changes posture, changes tone of voice, changes daily micro-decisions. True decision is not momentary excitement. It is silent stability. The law of attraction responds to clear definition, not unstable enthusiasm. When you stop considering the opposite scenario, your energy concentrates. When it concentrates, it begins to reorganize circumstances. 2. Mental clarity. When your energy stops dividing, reality does not respond well to ambiguity. If you want prosperity but reinforce fear daily, you send 2 signals. If you desire a relationship but expect abandonment, you maintain vibrational conflict. The field responds to the dominant pattern, not to your occasional best intention. Clarity is not repeating positive phrases all day. It is eliminating recurring contradictory thoughts. It is noticing when your mind returns to the old pattern and redirecting without drama. It is not fighting the thought, it is not feeding it. The exact second happens when your focus stops alternating between what you want and what you fear. When your mind begins to sustain a single direction consistently, without emotionally oscillating with every external stimulus, the frequency aligns. A straight vibrational line produces movement. Alternation produces delay. Change begins when focus stops switching sides. And now I want you to be honest with yourself. What repetitive thought divides you the most today? Fear of failure? A sense of delay? Doubt about deserving? Write here in the comments a single word that represents this internal division. Naming the pattern is the first step to breaking it. And if you realize that this content is helping you identify noise that previously went unnoticed, subscribe to the channel now, not as someone seeking momentary motivation, but as someone who decided to train their own mind daily. Clarity is built through repetition, and what you choose to listen to every day shapes the frequency you sustain. When you eliminate internal ambiguity, the external field begins to respond with less resistance. Reality does not need more force. It needs stable direction. And stable direction is born from a mind that stopped negotiating with fear. 3. Stable feeling. When you stop begging internally. The universe does not respond to what you say you want. It responds to what you feel is normal. If your baseline feeling is anxiety, you activate absence. If it is tension, you activate resistance. If it is fear disguised as prudence, you activate blockage. But when the feeling becomes calm certainty, something adjusts. It is not euphoria or intense excitement. It is naturalness. It is imagining what you desire and not feeling internal tightness. It is thinking about the next level and not feeling contraction. The exact second happens when the feeling stops begging and starts confirming. Confirming means acting, reacting, and positioning yourself as someone who has already decided internally. When thought, emotion, and posture enter coherence, reality begins to respond. Not because you forced it, but because you finally stabilized. 4. Internal alignment. When thinking, feeling, and acting stop contradicting each other. Here is the point where almost everyone gets stuck without realizing it. You can decide internally. You can try to maintain focus and even adjust your feelings. But if your behavior continues aligned with the old version, you create silent vibrational conflict. Thinking prosperity and acting with fear of spending keeps scarcity active. Desiring recognition and continuing to diminish yourself keeps invisibility active. Wanting a healthy relationship and continuing to accept less than you deserve keeps lack active. The exact second happens when your 3 layers come into agreement: thought, emotion, and action. It is not about acting a lot. It is about acting coherently. When you begin to respond to situations as someone who has already decided to change, your identity begins to consolidate, and consolidated identity alters the field. External reality is not authority, it is reflection. If you change internal posture, the reflection must adjust. Alignment does not require dramatic effort. It requires honesty. Where are you still acting like the version you say you want to leave behind? When you identify it and correct it in the same moment, something stabilizes. Internal coherence is a silent command. And silent command is stronger than 1,000 affirmations repeated with doubt behind them. 5. Inspired action. The movement that confirms you have already changed. There is a huge difference between acting to achieve and acting because you have already decided. Action driven by anxiety has urgency, tension, and the need to prove that it is working. Inspired action is born from clarity. It is not intense, it is precise. When you are truly aligned, certain decisions become obvious. You realize you need to end something, start something, organize something, or simply change the way you respond. Not because you are desperate, but because it no longer matches who you decided to be. Small, coherent actions reprogram your brain faster than big motivational speeches. When you begin to act differently consistently, your mind understands that the change is real. And when your mind understands, it stops pulling you back. The field responds to aligned movement. It is not about the quantity of action, it is about the vibrational quality of the action. A single behavior sustained daily can alter an entire trajectory. Reality begins to obey when you stop waiting for external confirmation and start moving like someone who has already changed internally. Coherent movement eliminates vibrational doubt. And without dominant doubt, reorganization begins. 6. Openness to receive. The moment you stop defending. The old reality. Here is a point that almost no one perceives with enough clarity. Many times reality has already begun to reorganize, but you are still emotionally guarded. You decided, aligned your thoughts, stabilized your feelings, began to act differently, but you continue monitoring the result as if it could escape. This constant vigilance is resistance disguised as care. Tense expectation is not faith, it is sophisticated fear. Excessive control is not responsibility. It is insecurity trying to predict every scenario to avoid frustration. When you try to control the how, the when, and the exact form of manifestation, you demonstrate that you still do not fully trust your internal decision. And lack of trust creates micro-tensions in your emotional field. These micro-tensions are enough to keep the old pattern active, not because the universe is testing you, but because your nervous system is still operating in alert mode. And alert mode does not match receiving. Receiving requires internal maturity. It requires accepting that the path may not be exactly as you imagined. It requires allowing the response to come through a different route than planned. Many opportunities go unnoticed because the person is waiting for the specific version they idealized. They ignore smaller signs, subtle invitations, progressive adjustments, because they are still attached to the old format of control. The exact second also happens when you relax without abandoning alignment. Relaxing is not giving up. It is remaining firm inside without tightening the process. It is thinking about what you want to experience and not feeling urgency to prove that it is coming. It is following your routine without latent anxiety. It is trusting that what is compatible with your new identity is already in motion. Real openness begins when you accept that you are capable of sustaining what you asked for. Many people ask for expansion, but internally still believe they would not know how to handle it. They ask for prosperity, but feel guilt when imagining abundance. They ask for love, but still carry fear of losing it. These silent contradictions block receiving. When you dissolve the need for control and assume you are compatible with what you desire, something changes deeply. Your body relaxes. Your mind stops testing the process. Your energy stops oscillating. And when oscillation decreases, reorganization accelerates. Reality begins to adjust not because you pressured it, but because you finally created enough internal space for it to move. 7. Maintaining the state, where the exact second becomes permanent identity. Now we reach the most important point of all. The exact second is not an isolated moment that magically solves everything. It is the entry door. What defines the result is what you do after crossing that door. Many people experience clarity, feel alignment for a few hours, maybe for a day, but emotionally return to the old pattern at the first sign of external silence. It is in this return that the cycle restarts. Maintaining the state is not emotional rigidity. It is conscious, repeated choice. It is noticing when the mind tries to retrieve the old narrative and not identifying with it. It is noticing doubt arising and not feeding it with stories. It is continuing to act coherently even when there is still no visible evidence of change. This is vibrational maturity. Identity consolidates through repetition. If you repeat the new state long enough, it stops feeling like effort and starts feeling natural. And when something becomes natural, you no longer need to remember it all the time. You simply operate that way. Maintenance transforms decision into pattern. Pattern transforms into dominant vibration. Dominant vibration reorganizes reality. The biggest mistake is not making an emotional error. It is abandoning the decision at the first discomfort. Oscillating is human. Remaining is a choice. Every time you choose to remain, you weaken the old line and strengthen the new one. Every time you sustain focus, even in silence, you deepen your internal stability. Reality does not respond to emotional peaks. It responds to the vibrational average you maintain over time. If your average stops being fear and becomes stable confidence, the field begins to reflect that. If your average stops being lack and becomes calm sufficiency, the scenario gradually changes. Not because there was an external miracle, but because there was internal consistency. The exact second is not a magical event on the clock. It is the moment you become stable enough not to go back. And when you do not go back, reality has no option but to follow the pattern you chose to sustain.